Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Asmogan, and don't mind that my hair is a goddamn mess. I just got home from work, because I am that magical status of employed. But, that aside, today we're here to talk about nerd shit, and unfortunately not happy nerd shit, but dumb nerd shit, because that seems to be what's happening most lately in the 40k community. So, today's video is probably going to be fairly short, because it's nothing surprising. It's funny, actually, but it's nothing surprising. So this comes from Lord Metalman. He actually DM'd me this directly, so shout out to him. Awesome dude. Love him. He's over on Twitter. If you're on Twitter and you're dealing with the Wokos and you're looking for somebody with sanity, he's definitely one of the core people to go to. Him and Brother Oddball and Corndog and a couple others. But he writes in a post over on Twitter, I knew Mike Brooks had a pathetic loser online personality, but wow, he really went petty to throw a dig at Sargon of Akkad in one of his books by making him a villain with a very similar name. So yes, that's today's discussion topic, so to speak. Mike Brooks, who is a shitty author with next to no notable works that I'd give even an ounce of a damn about, I'd say he's probably lesser than Caven Scott, given that I at least remember Caven Scott, given that he's an absolute shit writer as well. But at least in Caven Scott's case, he's such utter shit, and he's done enough shit work that I remember his name. Mike Brooks is more like that guy you mistakenly call out a name for because it sounds like a name, that of a more notable figure. You know, you hear Mike Brooks, you're like, oh, what? Wait, no, that's Mel Brooks. I'm thinking about Mel Brooks. Who's Mike Brooks again? Some loser who lives in the dumpster out back by GW? Oh, yeah, that guy. But anyway, that's Mike Brooks. Not really any kind of notable author or anything. I don't really like his work. But that being said, in his latest book, apparently he wrote in Sargon of Akkad as a character. You'll be shocked to hear as the villain. Who could have seen that coming? And I guess this is one big thing in regards to the female custodian situation. This is further proof that this is a cemented thing in the culture of GW, and we already knew it's been cemented in the authors for decades. The authors have majorly been woke for a long time, but to go this blatant, yeah, they fell a while ago. So this, if anything, this kind of lends a bit more credence to the idea that the woke stuff isn't necessarily revolving around the Amazon show as much as it was an inevitability that was only sped along by Amazon at worst. But Mike Brooks, in his novel, writes, in that moment, Alan Cho was quite the most alien and yet most beautiful thing Zeke had ever laid eyes on. We're starting off great for 40k comic. Oh, this alien thing, but it's beautiful. Because 40k. We all know everyone loves aliens.
Die, green skin!
Sargon Akkad. You're not even being what is it with, like, woke writers and, like, the ability to be subtle? Just doesn't remain within them. Like, subtlety is a dead art that seems reserved for people who are not woke. Like, come on. It's just pathetic. Like, you couldn't have tried an ounce more to hide what you're doing? I guess they didn't really want to. Sargon Akkad bellowed with rage, his voxcaster amplifying it into... Why am I giving this a dignified read?
Sargon Akkad bellowed with rage, his voxcaster amplifying it until his war cry was nearly a weapon in its own right, and lumbered into a charge, both chain axes revving up until the whirl of their blades became a banshee scream. Alan Cho raised the... What?
Alan Scholl. I'm assuming that's the protagonist of the book. I don't really give a shit. But Alan Scholl, okay? Of all names, really? I don't know, just Alan Scholl. Am I the only one who's like... I know this is petty compared to the rest of the dumb shit that is this whole sequence of writing. But your main character's name is Alan Scholl. It's such a soy name. No offense to anybody out there who might be named Alan Scholl, but... especially the way it's spelled, it's like one of those people who like trying to rename themselves because they don't like their normal names. So they name themselves something else, like as a nickname. Like let's say a guy at school, his name is Tim, but he thinks it doesn't sound like badass enough, so he's like, my name's Tyrone. Like, okay. Okay, Tyrone. You want to sound a little bit more dignified, I guess. I don't know. It sounds like somebody trying to do that, but they couldn't come up with anything remotely Chad or based, so they're like, Alan Chol, because I'm swole, you know? Like, it's just, I don't know, it's a lame name. Alan Chol raised their silent stub gun and trained it on the behemoth bearing down on them. An action which looked to Zeke to be equivalent of menacing a sump croc, with a toothpick. Shadows threw themselves on a god, slowing him, overwhelming him. I'm kind of falling asleep. Sorry, this writing is so boring. The slave master lashed out with his chain axes, and one of his assailants was thrown clear, nearly bisected. Blah blah blah. At least like Sargon of Akkad is actually doing shit. At least. I'm waiting for the mic drop of like, oh, but he made a critical mistake because he's such a fool, you know, that kind of thing. But there were too many for him to fight. His arms were immobilized, and he was borne down to the ground, bellowing with impotent rage. Then a short, squat shape clambered onto his back and wrapped a chain, a slave's manacles, around a god's neck and began to pull. Again, ever heard of the word subtlety? You will never find this guy's face next to it in the dictionary. He'll be his face will be next to the word blatant. That and uninspired. Blatant and uninspired. You'd see a picture of Mike Brooks. A god's breathing, hideously amplified by his voxcaster, became more and more ragged, more and more desperate. Then, as his executioner gave one final wrench on the chain, Sargon, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, woke, self-flagellating writing. Anyway. Yeah, it's just dumb news. Honestly, I guess, like, people might want me to be a bit more energetic about this, but to be honest, it's just kind of funny. And it shows how pathetic and petty they are, right? Like, they are so, like, habitually offended that they can't come up with interesting or compelling or fun villains. They just have to base them on real people they don't like. Can you think of a more boring way to write a villain? Like, because you are writing them off of a person you genuinely don't like and don't want to understand or don't want to actually pontificate about, you make them shallow, uninteresting, straightforward, and boring, which inevitably makes it so the only thing that's similar between the villain you're depicting and the person you vilified in your own brain is the name. That's the only similarity here. Sargon of Akkad is just sounds like a bloodthirster, or sounds like a cornate, I don't know, something. But Sargon is not even really one of the even if you want to go by stereotypes, right? Like, Sargon of Akkad is not even one of the ragey, like, one of the ragey types. Off the top of my head, I can't even think of a single, like, crazy outburst Carl Benjamin has had, right? I can't think of a single one. Normally, he's actually quite calm and collected. He's kind of like Arch in that regard. Both of them are very philosophical with the way they... Like, if you want to depict someone as a raging psycho, I'm probably a better candidate. And even then, I'm far too smarmy to be just a corn berserker. But hey, if you really just want to break it down to just some bullet points, I'm closer to fit the bill. Sargon is more of like a Tzeentchian villain. And again, we're going based on like the woke, stereotypical vilification of Carl Benjamin. But even if you go by that, he's not like a corn berserker. Like, even within your own psycho philosophy, this isn't compelling or interesting. The name is the only thing similar. Outside of that, it's just... I don't know what to call it other than cheap propaganda? Slander, maybe? But cheap wish.com slander. It's because slander is only really effective or interesting if it has any teeth. Again, this is just boring. Like, if you're gonna make a character in your book based on someone you really don't like, and this is the most you do, Like, if you're this lazy with someone you passionately dislike, God forbid I see what you do with a character based on someone you actually like. Like, this is pathetic. And again, Cavan Scott would have written a more interesting, like, outcome with a Sargon of God, I think. And again, I don't want to give that motherfucker any credit. He wrote Warhammer Adventures. Like, that motherfucker wrote the High Republic. And I honestly think I'd prefer his take on a Sargon of God than Mike Brooks. That's how pathetic of a cheap writer he is. Like, when you literally run out of, like, if you're looking for, like, hey, we want ADB, but we don't want to pay ADB prices, and we also don't want to waste much investment or time on this thing. We really just need a filler book to just kind of throw out there for the few people who would just obsessively collect anything we sell. Who can we get on the, like, ultra cheap? There's that guy in the dumpster out back. What's his name? Jeffrey Cooks? Conroy Sook? I don't know. He'll say his name when we tell him to come in. Hey, dude in the dumpster, get in here. He comes in with, like, an eye twitching.
You want me to write a book?
Yeah. Here's a pen, here's a paper, and some crayons. Go in the corner, have fun. He's like, oh, Brooks too good. Brooks too good. Oh, that's his name. That's his name, Brooks. What's your last name, Brooks? Brooks is last name. Name Mike. Oh shit. Huh. Well, that's okay. That's okay, Jake. Mike. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay, Ron. Mike. Oh, right. Mike. I'm gonna get some coffee. I don't know. I don't have much energy for this. This is just kind of comical. And the one upside that you could technically look at this is, hey, Sargon, you're canon in 40K now. That's it for me, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.